105 and Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
Tonight, America in crisis. Passionate pleas that enough is enough.
Now the entire world is screaming, Black Lives Matter.
So we've put together an all-star panel for a virtual town hall.
I see this as a bigger moment.
Finally, we can hold police officers accountable.
A virtual push for peace. Welcome to the special Street Soldiers Push for Peace Town Hall. Usually we'd be doing it in front of a live audience of several hundred people, but that's not possible now because of social distancing restrictions. So we put together a virtual town hall to bring you the voices of men of color speaking out about what's really going on in America today.
Man, I can't breathe my face.
The tragic killing of George Floyd has led to a huge, diverse movement for human rights. Hundreds of thousands of protesters filling American streets demanding justice and affirming that Black Lives Matter.
I mean, the whole world's together on these issues.
Fat Joe is a veteran of our town halls and has been fighting for justice for years. He's spreading the word now on his nightly Instagram show.
I've always been for Latinos and blacks together as one.
Amadou Diallo was shot 19 times.
Hip-hop artist Papoose wrote what may be the most powerful song of his career, Tribute, using every letter of the alphabet to name a life lost to deadly police or racist violence.
Maybe we can have a better society because this has been going on for too long.
We've gathered lawmakers, influencers, and the next generation of leaders. They see hope on the horizon.
And I've seen a lot of people who are willing to directly say, yes, this is racist. Yes, this is wrong.
We're joined right now by two of the most influential hip-hop artists in the world. I'm talking about superstar Fat Joe. He's got the hottest show on Instagram called The Fat Joe Show. Joe, great to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Really awesome. And also with us is hip-hop superstar Papoose. His song about police brutality, Tribute, is playing around the world. It's off his new album called Endangered Species. Papoose, great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, guys, we wanted to talk about, in this episode of Street Soldiers, what it's like for men of color in America and what the whole movement that has been happening now, this, what I call the Great Awakening, how it's impacting your lives and how you see it. Joe, let me start with you on that.
I mean, this is a beautiful time. We turn the tragedy into something triumph. God bless and rest in peace George Floyd and Aubrey and Breonna. But they're like martyrs, you know what I mean? And what I was trying to tell my daughter in a strange way, when she was asking me about George Floyd, I said, well, you know, in 30 years, I think they're going to talk about him like we talked about Rosa Parks in the history books. So I was trying to break it down like that. Like, you know all about Rosa Parks, you know about the civil rights. So 30 years from now, I think kids will be reading about George Floyd. And he gave his life, unfortunately, so that great things could come. And so you see with all these laws passing, like the 50A and transparency laws, and finally we can hold police officers accountable.
No, definitely. Papoose, I felt like this was one of the first times when Black men in particular could really speak about just some of the daily, I call them microaggressions, or just the trauma of never knowing when something simple is going to turn into a potentially deadly encounter with police.
Yes. You know, unfortunately, encounters with police for Black and Latinos is unreasonable, disrespectful, and you feel danger. Whenever the police approach you, you know, you don't feel safe, you don't feel protected. You feel like, okay, I need to protect myself because these are individuals who don't like me. And I love what this generation is doing. I sit back and I'm analyzing everything that's going on. I feel like they learned from the revolution and the outcry in the 60s. Like, they learned from how they did it in the 60s. I feel like back then they kind of burnt down their own, destroyed their own neighborhoods. This movement has been taken worldwide. There's people around the planet who are speaking out. So I feel like they got the world involved, you know what I mean, more better, which is a great thing. You know, we love what they did back then, but I just feel like this generation, they kind of learned from that. And you know, just talking about the police, if you really know the history of the police, it initially started from back in slavery. You know, they would use, the police were there to keep the slaves on the plantation. You know, and then over years and years and years, it evolved into the sheriff and the marshals and all of that. But the police department in the United States, that's how it initially started. So it's actually, the foundation of it was built on racism. I hate to be the one to say that. So now that they're revamping it and changing certain things due to the people fighting back, it's a wonderful thing because it's been time. It's overdue.
Definitely. Joe, when you see all the energy, you know, with so many people coming together from all different backgrounds, all different races, all saying Black Lives Matter, saying time to end racism worldwide, how does that make you feel? Because you've been speaking out, you know, you've been speaking out on these issues for a long, long time, since the beginning of your career.
You know, there's nothing more powerful than people power. And when we come together, Black, white, Latino, Asian, indigenous people, people from all across the world saying enough's enough, then they have to listen, because everybody's unified and everybody's together saying that enough is enough. And like with anything else, if you look at people out there, there's a lot of white people in the front line, but what you don't understand is that a lot of them have Black and white grandchildren. You know, this country is mixed, it's diverse now. It ain't just white and Black.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, when people, you see white people out there, they saying, those are my kids.
Right, exactly.
You know, you're targeting my kids. Those ain't just, let's march for Black people. Their kids are Black, their grandchildren are Black. And they're like, nah, enough's enough. You could kill my grandchild. So it's powerful, powerful. This is, I try to tell my daughter, she's only 14, but I try to tell her, Ma, this is the most, I've been on earth. I've never been on earth at a time like this. This is the most historical time ever. I just want you to know that. Like, this ain't a regular time.
Right,
this
exactly.
Is a historical time on earth.
Definitely, in a time when a lot of change is possible. Papoose, the song Tribute, where you go through all of these instances where Black men were killed and women were killed at the hands of police. Why did you feel it was so necessary to do that at this time? Because when you hear it, you know, your voice, the delivery, the beat, and then just this like almost horrible, you know, roll call of all these innocent lives taken. What made you want to do this now?
I wanted to be the voice for people who physically doesn't have a voice anymore, you know, and it actually broke my heart that I was able to make that record. It's a shame that an artist can take a letter in the alphabet, each letter in the alphabet from A to Z, and name a person who was murdered by the police. And it's even more of a shame when you look at the fact that when you do your research and you notice that all of those cops got away. They never even went to prison. They never even got arrested. I mean, I'm sorry, they never got convicted. So, you know, and I said this last time when I spoke to you, and I want to say this again, and because I don't want people to get away from the point. A lot of people say, you know, everybody's complaining about the police killing us, but we got to stop killing us. I understand that, and I respect that. What I want them to understand is, if you pay attention and you listen to when people are protesting and you listen to the cries that's going on, they're saying no justice, no peace. So, unfortunately, we are going to always have homicides across the planet. No matter what color your skin is, we're going to have homicides. What we're fighting for is justice. Don't get it twisted. You know, if a Black person kills a Black person, they go to jail. They get 50 to life, 25, double life sentences, they get put away. You know, I can keep going through different race, color, and creeds. We all get put away and sent to the penitentiary. The only murder that seems to be legal and they get away with it is when the police kill one of us. So that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for justice. It's going to be extremely difficult to stop murders. We're not going to be able to stop that. But what we're saying is they need to be held accountable. So we're fighting for accountability. Lisa, through the whole COVID-19, even the whole protesting, the entire incident with George Floyd, there's been so much inconsistent information in the media. Your news coverage and how you explain everything in details, I'm talking about giving testing sites. Me and my family watch you every day. I want to thank you and commend you for that. My brother Fat Joe, I want to thank you for the biggest show, man. You had Chuck D up there yesterday. That was so educational, man. So I just wanted to salute y'all on the work y'all been doing.
We love you, Pat. And Lisa, you got to understand, Lisa is an unsung hero. She's been in the streets for 25, 30 years with the street soldiers. It wasn't cool. That's what I was trying to explain to Chuck D. There was a time where what she was doing wasn't cool. They felt like, nah, we don't want the positive. Nah, we don't want, and she kept doing it. And now everything you ever did, all of a sudden, makes super sense to people. You know what I mean? And, you know, Lisa, you know, I'm always here for you. I love you. You're loyal to me. I'm loyal to you. Same thing with my brother, Pat Poops.
Love you, my brother.
Let's stay on their necks.
Still to come.
We're in the year 2020 and like cops are blatantly killing us on recording, you know, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram for, not just for Americans to see, but for the whole world to see.
We're just screaming Black Lives Matter, but now we want like policy changes and we want different things. Like, so I feel like now we're moving towards the right direction.
Joining me right now is Soul B. He's a reformed gang member. He's the CEO of Black Mogul Inc. He's an author, and he's also the co-host of a very popular podcast with his wife, Isha J, called Hustle and Love, right? Is that right?
That's right. Hustle and love.
The one and only Soul B. We're also
big homie of the real big homies.
We're also joined by K.O. So Frosty. He's a reformed gang member. He's also a filmmaker. He has an incredibly popular web series on YouTube called Gods of the City and a podcast by the same name. And he is out there filming, making all kinds of videos, and he's out and about everywhere. Frosty, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Also with us is Ty Two Fly. He's Soul B's son. He's 17 years old, high school sophomore, and he's also an aspiring rapper. Ty, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. Ty Two Fly.
Soul B, come on. All right, Frosty, I want to start with you on this. In terms of the protests that we've been seeing, all the calls on Black Lives Matter, equal justice that's happened since George Floyd's murder, how are you feeling about the vibe on the street right now?
I mean, the energy is really intense. Like, I should say it's intense. Like, out there, like, everybody's really, like, passionate about what's going on right now. As you can see, like, there's a different type of races out there also, where it's just not just, although it's a Black Lives Matter situation, but there's different races out there marching with Black people. So the situation is really intense outside, like, you know?
And then in terms of the, Soul B, in terms of the energy that's around this, when, you know, you're seeing Blacks, whites, Latinos, multiracial people, everybody old, young, in between, everybody's coming out saying the same thing. Do you feel like things are really going to change?
Yes, I truly believe it's because when you have a collective cause, it's like change is inevitable. A condition breeds a response. And George Floyd was just the catalyst of what we see. It's different when you hear, but when you visually see things, and then you begin to think that could be my son. So it's not just, oh no, he's a Black man. It's that could be my son. Like, and that's the response that we're seeing now with everyone. Like, enough is enough.
For sure. Ty, when you saw that George Floyd video, what did you think about that?
It built up anger in me. Like, as I watched it, I built up anger knowing that, like seeing a Black man on the floor begging, like, I can't breathe, I get up, and then they just sitting there. It built up a lot of anger in me. So I'm with the protesting and whatever they got going on.
And then in terms of your own experience, tell us about your experiences with police or with, you know, on the streets where you feel you were racially profiled.
We had a situation not too long ago, and I put myself in the wrong situation, but being in that situation with police around me and guns being drawn, I was scared. I didn't know if I was next, if it was gonna be me, I was scared. And it's sad that I have to feel like that being a young black man growing up.
Do you feel like things are really going to change, or do you feel like that this is just a phase, and then, you know, think now that things have opened up after the coronavirus, people are going to get back to doing what they did before?
I feel like we're demanding this time. I think with certain times before we didn't really have like a demand, but this time we really have like more of a demand of what we want. Like before we're just screaming Black Lives Matter, but now we want like policy changes, and we want different things. Like, so I feel like now we're moving towards the right direction.
We're joined right now by New York State Assemblyman Michael Blake. He's also a candidate for Congress and an architect of one of the biggest community relief organizations and efforts that we've seen in New York City since the coronavirus pandemic hit and caused hardship for so many people. Michael, great to have you with us.
Always great to see you, Lisa, and thank you for allowing me to share more about what's happening here in the Bronx.
And we're going to talk about that and also the issues as well. We're also joined by Mamadi Konde. He's a college student at Ohio State University, family from New York City here. And Mamadi, great to have you with us on the show.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. Thank you.
Michael, first of all, when we talk about the climate right now, a lot of people are asking, where do we go? Is this going to be more of the same, where after all of the protests, after all of the discussions about this other pandemic, the pandemic of racism in America, that it's going to go back to the way it was? What's your take on that?
I think things have changed dramatically, Lisa. You know, I've been saying a lot the last few weeks that there was a pandemic of poverty, of health disparities, and institutionalized racism that existed long before the coronavirus pandemic. And you think about how for 2.5 months, all that we were thinking about was coronavirus. And essentially for the last month, all we've been talking about is George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and how Amy Cooper called the cops on Charles Cooper. And we're being reminded of police brutality. And I'm not saying every single cop is bad. I'm not saying every person is bad, but we're just saying that we have to have justice. And so I think this will be different, because we have finally moved forward on criminal justice reforms from repealing 50A so that now you can actually know what's happening around disciplinary records around police. But it can't stop there, and it won't stop there.
Mamadi, from your perspective, you're a college student, you've been out working as a community outreach worker and volunteer in the community. What's really bothering you right now?
We're in the year 2020, and like cops are blatantly killing us on recording, you know. It's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, for not just for Americans to see, but for the whole world to see. And then like they're doing it on video, and there's no justice happening after that.
What have been some of the instances or examples where you've been exposed to blatant racism, or where you know you've been treated differently because of the color of your skin?
Well, I can give you a perfect example. At my school, the way that like they treat people my age, you know, more so adolescent, like teenagers, 20-year-olds, stuff like that. The way they treat them there, as far as policing, the cops have come, a bunch of kids are outside. Hey, what are you guys doing? Can you keep it down a little bit? You know, like they come, they ask questions and actually visualize and see what's going on. So where me in New York City, if I'm with my friends, the cops don't come and say, hey, what are you guys doing? Hey, get on the ground. And then that's how they find out what are we doing after that. And then the police.
And Michael, that's a story that we've heard over and over again, that people with lighter complexions, that whites in particular, have a hard time understanding. And it seems there is starting to be some kind of realization of that discrimination based on skin color, that it's not a once in a while type of thing. It's a daily reality for a lot of people of color, especially men.
Well, look, the unfortunate reality is that over and over again, we're being reminded that there's a large subset in this country that when they see a dark-skinned black man or woman, they automatically presume that you're a criminal or a thug, and we're not. We are scholars, we are champions. And when I say black, I don't just mean African-American, I mean Latino, I mean Caribbean, I mean all of us. What we have to recognize is this is that moment where this is that 68 moment of what do we do? And we have to turn that anger into action.
Thank you for joining us for the special virtual Street Soldiers Push for Peace Town Hall. I'm Lisa Evers. Remember, use your mind, it's your best weapon. And let's push for peace, love, and justice for all.